Good morning. This is USA Wager. I am Rodney Newple. That is Kevin Krest. He is our resident golf expert. You know, you talk about golf. Kevin's got it going on. I know we're early this morning, but we wanted to get another Ryder Cup preview out there. First of all, good morning, Kevin. How are you this morning?
I am good, Rodney. Good morning to you.
Thank you, and I appreciate coming on and giving all your wealth of knowledge. And you do have a Ryder Cup preview piece up on USA Wager. It's one of those things. I've looked through it. It looks fantastic. A lot of history in it. A lot of preview for this weekend. I guess. Obviously you loved golf, but what was the inspiration for this one? I mean, just hey, it's a golf weekend.
Yeah, and 3 years ago, the Ryder Cup was postponed from last year, but 3 years ago, the United States got dusted. I don't know what term you can use, dusted, shellacked, soundly beaten in France, 17.5 to 10.5, with a really good team. You had Tiger Woods, who just coming off a Tour Championship win the week before, Phil Mickelson still playing well, Dustin Johnson, Bryson DeChambeau. You just go down the list, Justin Thomas. That team was fantastic. And they just got killed.
Yes.
And so I felt that with the Ryder Cup starting tomorrow morning, that it was a good idea to give a little bit of a preview of what's going on with the Ryder Cup. A lot of changes, actually, in the American side. And really highlight for the last 27 years, the U.S. hasn't been very good at this. And the Europeans have been very good at it, regardless of the difference in talent levels on the team. And there's some reasons for that. That's what we bring up in the article about what that looks like and what we can expect for this weekend.
Yeah, and I do want you to talk about that, but let me just ask you real quick, why do you think, or first of all, actually I wanted to ask, are you okay with this American team? Like, was it selected the way you would have selected, or would you have made any changes?
For the most part, I think it was selected very well. I think that Steve Stricker did not go outside the box. Just to highlight what happens on the U.S. team, the top 6 players are chosen through automatic qualifying, which was extended for a year because of the pandemic. And so you have 3 years of history, and the top 6 players were chosen through the points, and the captain gets 6 picks. He used to only get 2.
Yeah.
And so that was a problem for the U.S. because you'd have guys who collected a lot of points early in the point season because it was a 2-year process, who weren't playing very well, and you'd get stuck with guys that even though they might have been 8th or 9th on the list, came into the tournament and not in good form. So this time, Stricker had the luxury of getting 6 captain's picks. And by the way, Steve Stricker's a former, I think it's 3-time Ryder Cupper, so
yes.
he knows what he's doing, right? He famously successfully partnered with Tiger Woods, which is a very difficult thing to do, by the way. And so, no, I liked how the team was chosen. He passed over Patrick Reed, who was 11th in the list, and Webb Simpson, who was 13th on the list, in favor of Scottie Scheffler, who was a younger player who obviously didn't have a chance at 3 years of points because he's a sophomore on the PGA Tour. So.
Right.
He's very long, very straight, very affable, young, doesn't have a lot of ego, hasn't not won on the PGA Tour yet. So he doesn't come in carrying this cachet of, I have to be the guy and I have to play every match. And so Stricker went out and got a guy that he can just go, hey, Scotty, just do what I tell you to do and be happy with it. And he will because he's also a college teammate of Jordan Spieth, who was a great teammate. And so I think it's a good team. And another aspect of it is that the players with Ryder Cup experience, there are 6 of them and 6 rookies. Of those 6 with experience, 4 of them have winning records in the Ryder Cup.
Okay.
So a lot of the players who have had difficulty in the past, including Tiger Woods, including Phil Mickelson, are not on this team. Tiger Woods because of injury, Mickelson because he's old, and that's just the basic thing. He didn't qualify. He won the PGA Championship in May, but hasn't played well since. And he actually should be on the Champions Tour, which is where he's been successful, winning 3 times. So I am very happy with the team, and I think it's stacked. The U.S. team has 7 of the top 10 players in the world on it. The Europeans have the top player in the world, Jon Rahm, and they don't have another player until you get down to Rory McIlroy at 15th in the world.
Yeah.
So they are at a distinct competitive disadvantage, but that doesn't really make any difference in this event, and it hasn't for going on 30 years now.
You got to think real quick before we do talk about the differences between the, why the Americans haven't had great success. You got to think this is going to be even extra special for Steve Stricker, though, being up there in Wisconsin, as he is a Wisconsin native. It's close to his hometown, but I mean, it's 2 hours, but still pretty close. You got to think this one might be even extra special for Stricker.
Oh, it's very special for Stricker. I mean, the whole thing is, he never won a major title.
Right.
So this is a big deal for him. And as a captain's, there is no set criteria for becoming a Ryder Cup captain. And some guys have been successful, as in Paul Azinger, who was amazingly successful. And then you have guys that just didn't do a very good job of it, like Curtis Strange. I went to high school with Curtis Strange. I caddied for Curtis Strange. I like Curtis Strange. I know Curtis Strange, but he was a lousy captain, and so it's those kinds of things that the U.S. hasn't done very well. The Europeans in the past have stayed with captains for a while. Tony Jacklin captained for 2 or 3 times, and so they kind of stuck with a formula for success once they got it. The U.S. has been a little bit different in their process. But the real problem, of course, has been on the course. The captain doesn't play well. Right. Tiger Woods was a playing captain in the 2019 President's Cup, but other than that, we haven't had a playing captain in the Ryder Cup since Arnold Palmer back in the late '60s. So they don't do a lot. They set up some pairings, they do motivation, but for the most part, the players have to play, and our players have not played very well, with the exception of a couple of times. I mean, 2016. The U.S. won 17-11 here at Hazeltine Golf Course.
Right,
but that was a rare dust up by the Americans. But that team on paper was as strong as this one, and so we're having hopeful that the Americans can do a little bit better this time around.
So, what do you expect from this weekend? What is there to expect from both sides? What's your expectations? What's your thoughts on how this is going to play out?
Well, as you know, and we do a lot of wagering and betting writing, and I do what, Rodney? What do I write? 30 pieces a week for you guys?
I mean, it's a lot. Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
So it's unpredictable in that sense. And I'll just go with the golf course part first here, and then I can get to a little bit of the wagering issues later on. But on the golf course, this U.S. team should clobber the Europeans. And I actually think that they will. I believe that we're seeing a changing of the guard a little bit. The players with all the baggage, the Tigers, the Phils, the Bubba Watsons, those guys that have been unsuccessful in the Ryder Cup, and they keep coming back year after year and having the same negative thoughts and negative results. Those guys are gone, because even in 2018, when the U.S. lost by so much, Jordan Spieth and Justin Thomas went 3-1 as a team.
Right.
Okay. Tony Finau was 2-1 in his performance. So you have some guys who, even in a loss, they're bringing back positive thoughts because they did very well against a lot of the same players. The other reason I say that is that Patrick Harrington, the European captain, picked Lee Westwood. Ian Poulter as a captain's pick. He picked Sergio Garcia as a captain's pick. Now, Sergio is 41 years old. You go, that's not very old. But by golf years, Sergio, you think he's 100 years old. He's been around forever, right? He debuted as a 19-year-old in the 1999 PGA, famously, right? And he actually has the most Ryder Cup points of any player of all time, with 25 and a half. But he's 45, and he's rated somewhere in the 40s in the official world golf rankings. Lee Westwood actually qualified. He's 48.
Yeah.
Okay. He's in his 10th Ryder Cup. Ian Poulter, the emotional leader of this team. Poulter isn't playing very well.
No. He
didn't play very well. He hasn't played very well the last couple of years. He shows up at the Ryder Cup, sinks a couple putts, and everybody goes crazy. But those guys, the ebb and flow of this thing has a way of evening out a little bit. And I think that when you look at players like Xander Schofley, for instance, Not a major winner for the U.S., but he did win the Olympic gold medal, which is a big deal.
It is,
That's the same kind of pressure. You're playing for your country that I think he can bring to the Ryder Cup as a rookie. I mean, you wouldn't think Xander was a rookie. If you polled people, you'd go, oh, no, I'm sure Xander Schofley's played on the Ryder Cup team.
Right. No.
He isn't. He didn't. But he doesn't bring that kind of rookie status, to the table. And so I think you look at all these guys. I mean, Bryson DeChambeau hasn't been playing well since March or April. He and Brooks Koepka have some baggage going on there, some turmoil. But I think they're going to turn that into a positive because these guys are awesome players. The other reason is that the home captain gets to set up the golf course however he feels like setting up the golf course. And so this is something the Americans haven't done very well. We've kind of played nice. The Europeans don't play nice when it comes to setting up the golf course because they want to win. There's only one thing you want to do. They want to win. So this has gone from a gentleman's game or match back in the 60s and 70s when the U.S. was just absolutely destroying teams from Great Britain. Then they added Ireland. Then they added Europe to try to even the playing field a little bit. Well, once Seve Ballesteros got into the mix in the 80s, he turned this into an absolute. I mean, they might as well be, in the UFC thing where everybody goes in and they can't get out, right?
Right.
And so Seve made American players feel like they were in the cage, right? It was terrible. So the Americans haven't done a good job. So Whistling Straits, although it appears to be a links-style golf course, really isn't. It's a Pete Dye design, one of his great designs, along the coast of Lake Michigan. But the interesting thing about it is, a link-style course would benefit the Europeans. Well, I don't think so. All you have to do is look at the success of American golfers in the Open Championship.
Right. They did real well there.
Tom Watson won 5 of those things. Tiger Woods won 3. I mean, Jack Nicklaus won 4. I mean, so the Americans have success in that style of play. So Stricker kind of took a link-style course and he sets it up for American bombers. He basically cut all the rough down.
Yeah.
So what the Europeans did in France, they narrowed the fairways and raised the rough.
Yeah.
Which basically takes guys like DeChambeau, Dustin Johnson, not so much out of the mix, but it makes them play a different game than they're used to.
Right.
But at Hazeltine, basically Stricker has set it up and said, okay, bomb away. And if they bomb away, the Europeans, except for McElroy, who, by the way, isn't driving the ball very well right now, except for McElroy and a couple other guys, don't have the kind of length. I mean, Poulter can't stay up with those guys.
Right. No way.
Right. He's Westwood can't stay up with those guys. And they're guys that they're counting on to stimulate this team and to work some magic. And so you just don't have that kind of a depth. Terrell Hatton, who a young player for the European Tour, isn't playing well at all.
No.
Bernd Wiesberger, who made it on points on the last weekend, which disappointed the Europeans actually because they wanted to be able to add a Justin Rose, right? A Francesco Molinari, who went 5-0 in 2018. Those guys aren't on the team, and so you're going to see. I think the Europeans are going to have to play a lot of matches. The advantage the Americans have, Whistling Straits is a very demanding golf course. Yeah. It's long. It's going to be windy. And I don't know if you play golf, but anybody out there that plays golf, if you're trying to play a demanding golf course in the wind, it will absolutely exhaust you. I don't care how good a player you are. I don't care if you're a pro or whatever. It's an exhausting experience. Well, some of these guys are going to be playing 2 matches a day. Okay,
yeah, I liked your words in the article. You called it a big boy course.
Well, it's hosted 3 PGA championships, a U.S. Senior Open.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure it will host a U.S. Open in the future. Once the USGA gets at you and get a Senior Open there, I'm pretty sure it'll host a U.S. Open at some point. Yes, big boy golf course. You have to come play. Now, it's set up a little easier, but that's because the U.S. wants to – an easy golf course, the U.S. has a huge advantage. Just because they hit it so long and with wedges in their hands. I mean, you give Jordan Spieth a wedge in his hand he's going to go low. Justin Thomas is going to go low. Bryson DeChambeau, if he doesn't have to worry about the rough, he's going to hit the ball 370 yards off the tee. Yeah. There's drivable par fours, so they can literally dominate an easy golf course, which the Europeans cannot dominate an easy golf course. They don't have that kind of game, so they rely in this format anyway on finesse, on passion, on pressure, those kinds of things. I don't know. We'll see what happens, but even in 2018, the U.S. jumped on top 3-0. Yes. They won the first 3 matches, and then the Europeans won the next 8, which is. Yeah. It's almost impossible from an odds perspective. You go, wait a second. You would think somebody could pull out a half a point or something for the U.S. Right. So a lot of things happened. Secondly, in 2018, I mentioned this in the article too, is the Tour Championship was the week prior to the Ryder Cup. So 11 of the 12 U.S. players played in Atlanta on Sunday. Tiger won that ridiculously emotional. Yeah. Remember that the fans were right. He had to fight through the ropes.
Yes.
Justin Rose won the FedEx Cup points because that was the last year that they did it that way. So 11 of the 12 players for the U.S. were at Atlanta on Sunday and had to start the Ryder Cup on Friday in France.
Yes.
6 of the European players were at the Tour Championship, but some of their best players were not.
Right.
Okay. And so, and Francesco Molinari was there, but he was like 27th in the points. So he doesn't really under any kind of pressure to try to win that thing. So that to me was a very overlooked aspect of the most recent Ryder Cup. That the Americans were at an extreme disadvantage. They looked tired.
Yeah.
I mean, they came out kind of hot, but I know I traveled internationally in my career a lot, and I can tell you, I know those guys are kind of used to it, and they fly in, charter jets. But at some point, your body goes, no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I'm not making that 12-foot putt. I'm not hitting that 240-yard par 3-wood into a par 5. My body's just not going to work, and I think that it was exhausting. You add to that, they had some drama with Patrick Reed and Jordan Spieth, which, by the way, you never, ever see the Europeans have any controversy whatsoever in their team room. And if they do, it doesn't get out.
No, right. They're smart enough not to talk about it.
That's right. And so all these distractions, the egos, I can't even imagine what it must be like trying to be a captain and telling Tiger Woods he's going to sit for a session. Can you imagine that? Hey, Tiger, come here a second, buddy. Let's talk about Friday afternoon. You think you can sit? No.
No, I'm not sitting. Yeah, that would be wild. Yeah.
I mean, and this is where the President's Cup complicates things, right? Because when Tiger was playing the 2018 Ryder Cup, he was preparing for the 2019 President's Cup.
Yes.
As captain. So there's these dynamics of, were there guys trying to lobby to cap Tiger during that week to be a captain's pick for next year? It kind of complicates things, and so the Europeans have figured this out. They're very close. Now, there's a difference here too, and this goes back to the European Tour versus the American Tour. The European Tour was late to the table with the kind of money that the American Tour has. Yeah. So the European Tour players used to travel together, and they stayed together, and it was much more of a European thing. Somebody would win, but it wasn't as competitive at the individual level, the dog-eat-dog kind of thing as the American Tour is. So the American Tour, they even mentioned this week on the press conferences, like people like Colin Morikawa say, well, these guys are my enemies, and I just stick with my team. Well, the European Tour doesn't travel with teams, right? They don't have, they didn't anyway. Most of the players don't have trainers and psychologists and coaches. They travel with each other, and they have dinner with each other. And so there's a built-in camaraderie to that. And it's very similar to the difference between American football and European soccer.
Yes.
Right? For instance, in soccer, there is no clock.
Okay. Right.
Right? The one of the officials has the clock.
Yes. Right.
And at the end of regulation, he goes, "Well, we'll add 4 minutes."
4 minutes, maybe.
Now, can you imagine at the end of an NBA game, which, by the way, NBA clocks have tenths of a second on them,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Can you imagine at the end of an NBA game, the official looks at LeBron James and goes, got a minute 33 left.
Yeah. What?
The clock says 0. No, that's just kind of a guide.
Yeah.
That's not the clock. I have the clock.
Yeah.
Just imagine that. So there's a cultural difference between being able to do this as a team, and I'm talking about in the last 25 years, because before that, the American tour looked very much like the European tour. Jack Nicklaus and Arnold Palmer used to travel in the same plane together at times.
Wow. That's
great. I mean, can you imagine Tiger and Phil going to the tournament? I mean, can you imagine that?
Right.
It's not going to happen, right? So all of those factors combined, I think. But I think you got to change a little bit of a change, and I'm not alone in this. Some of the people on the Golf Channel, Randall Chambly, for instance, have voiced the same kind of thing. I think getting those players with all this baggage out of there and having and that's like Patrick Reed was passed over. Well, he was kind of had some COVID and some pneumonia in the season, but I think Stricker caught a break there because he was able to. I mean, I like Patrick Reed as an individual competitor, but the guy is absolutely, honestly, a jerk.
Right.
Or at least he comes across. I don't know him personally. At least he comes across that way in his portrayal, and I can only imagine what his fellow competitors think of him. Even though he has passion, Captain America, he's patriotic, all those things, but that's an individual thing. That's not a team thing.
Right.
And so I feel like Stricker got a real break by not having Patrick Reed on the team this time. Perhaps he'll be back again in the future, but this time I think it's important.
Let's talk real quickly. We'll wrap it up here in just a minute, but let's talk real quickly about any bets that you would recommend making. Maybe that you liked or anything out there that you're looking at. I know US is minus 190 to win. John Rahm is the favorite to score the most most points, correct?
Yes.
So those are just a few of the odds. Anything you like particularly?
Well, I like the minus 190 on the US. I know that most people like to go with value plays, and I think that Europe's at plus 190 or 180. It's pretty close. It's unusual. Usually those aren't that level, but in this case they kind of are. I like that bet. The other bet I like, and for it's very risky betting on who's going to get the most points, because we won't know until later today what the pairings are for just tomorrow morning.
Right.
So, I like Justin Thomas to win the most points, because I think that of all the U.S. players, he's most likely to play every match.
Yeah, I agree.
And the more matches you play, the more chance you have to score points. Now, John Rahm is in his second Ryder Cup. He's not that experienced, although Justin Thomas is also in his second Ryder Cup. But we'll have to see how much Rahm plays. And how much he needs to play. He may play 5 matches as well. He's a strong guy, but we'll have to see. But I actually like Justin Thomas to win the most points as opposed to John Rahm. But on the European side, I definitely take John Rahm to win the most points for Europe.
Yeah, he's really good.
Yeah, he's really good. And I mean, he only won once on the PGA Tour this year, but it was the U.S. Open, and he had 15 top 10 finishes. I mean, his season was incredible. He's a great player. But second place doesn't get it done in the Ryder Cup.
Correct. Right.
I mean, you got to have a guy that goes out there and can close tournaments. I think a real wild card is Rory McIlroy.
Okay.
How well he plays. Early in his career, he did not embrace the Ryder Cup. He has since, but his record isn't stellar. I think he's a little bit over 500 overall in his record. But we'll see about that. But I like Justin Thomas again. He's gonna be paired with Jordan Spieth, who's probably playing better golf than even he was in 2018, right? And so that to me is a solid bet. I think they're going to go out and play. They'll play at least 3 matches together. Thomas may end up matching it with somebody else in the 4-ball, and then of course they all play the singles. So those are good bets, I think. And then of course for people that do bet, keep your eye on it because the match bets won't be up until they announce the pairings, which will be later. So the pairings come out later this afternoon. They'll after the official ceremony when the Ryder Cup officially begins.
Yep.
The captains will announce their picks, and in the Ryder Cup, unlike the President's Cup where they kind of one guy does it and the other guy does it, and they kind of match each other. In the Ryder Cup, they put their 4 pairings out, and they're released, so they don't know who they're actually putting their teams against. So It's a real interesting dynamic. So keep your eye on the bets, and then tomorrow, late in the round tomorrow morning, they'll announce the pairings for the afternoon, and so on and so on. And so you won't, so you got to stay on top of that.
Yep. Well, it should be a fun weekend. I assume, Kevin, you're going to be glued to the TV to be watching this event this weekend.
I have already made it clear to my wife that I am watching Ryder Cup this weekend. We're playing. Right. In fact, we're playing golf this afternoon because I'm not playing tomorrow or Saturday. So yeah, I will be in front of or at least DVRing it. We do have a couple of football games. We're here in Arkansas, and the Razorbacks are playing Texas A&M on Saturday.
Oh, yeah.
So
big one.
So we got a little bit of an interruption there, but other than that, yes, I will be.
That'll be a big game. Well, go to usawager.com. The article is up. Kevin, you do a great job for us and anywhere you do your writing. So we do appreciate you, and we'd like to have you on a little bit more for some golf talk. And, the horse races is one of your things as well. So maybe we'll talk some horses sometime.
Yeah,
you'll have to really inform me on that. I've got enough golf knowledge. I can survive those horses, man. I just whichever one runs faster, that's who I'm picking.
Hey, it's a slot machine on 4 wheels, man. On 4 legs. Slot machine on 4 legs.
I like that. Well, Kevin, thanks for coming on and talking Ryder Cup. And again, go to the website usawager.com and find Kevin's article. Kevin, thank you. Have a good weekend and enjoy the Ryder Cup.
All right, you too, Rodney. Thank you.
All right, this is USA Wager. This is the Ryder Cup preview. I am Rodney Newple. He's Kevin Krest. So long for just a while. We will talk to you later. Have a great week.